You know, YouTube is full of a lot of idiots and uneducated buffoons. I get into a lot of arguments over the Moors. In 711 AD, the Moors conquered Spain and Portugal. Their rule lasted till actually 1492, the same year Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Now, because of white supremacy, they want to believe the Moors were non-African, non-black African. In fact, Africa, they think North Africa was originated white folks there, or some nonsense like that. So I get into this beef all the time with white Americans and some dumb white Europeans, but it's usually white Americans because they were raised in my country to believe that blacks were just slaves. They were in Europe chucking spears. That's all they ever did is chuck spears. Ignoring the real truth of history, they've altered history. Europe had a famous painter named Rembrandt, right? We all know who Rembrandt was, correct? And Rembrandt has a famous painting called Two Moors. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you see there it says Rembrandt Two Moors, let's go ahead and hit the search to make sure I'm not faking this. This is not fake news. Okay, so you see these two show up. Let's go ahead and look at the full body one. Okay, here we go, by Rembrandt. Okay. Rembrandt, Two Moors by Rembrandt. Two Moors. Now, if we go to Google Images, type in Moors, what comes up? There's some real famous artwork. Oops, didn't mean to hit the back button. And I just saw it. This one's called The Moorish Chieftain. Brief history of the Moors. This one is real, it's very expensive. It's called The Moorish Chieftain. Americans need to learn the real history. You were dumbed down for a reason. Moors. In their old get-up. See, it says Moors. Yes, there were Arabs that came in 1000 AD, and that's when the battle began, because many of the Moors were Muslims. Islam went through North Africa and took over. That's where another part of the mistake occurred. Then after that, Arabs moved in there. So people think that black North Africans never existed, because the Arab or Middle Eastern types, or whatever you want to call them, they took over North Africa. But the original tribes are still there, as I'll show you in just a minute. But let's take a look at, now we know that Spain was conquered, right? Out of that history came this running of the bulls. That's where it originated from, was when they finally ran the black bulls, big black dudes, out of Spain and Europe. So they started this tradition of running of the bulls. Portugal does the same thing. My girlfriend's native island of Terceira, they do the running of the bulls. Now, Spain should know who conquered them, correct? They should know who actually ruled them for a while. So they do a celebration to celebrate this. And these are Spaniards' history of the Moors, the Dark Ages. And they're called Dark Ages. Dark people. Get it? Now, they're not dressed up like Arabs. Do you see that? They're in blackface with Afro wigs. So Spain knows who did that. But why doesn't Americans? Well, because we're in America, and also our history has been dumbed down. That's why you believe that the Moors were Arabs or whatever. But I see idiocy all over. I see the stupidity. I got into an argument with someone, with a couple of Portuguese people who were looking for, because their DNA came back like 3% African and 7% African. And I was saying, well, those original Africans were black, referring to North African. And the DNA is still there in North Africa. You can trace the DNA all the way back to East Africa and down into Africa. Unfortunately, due to the condition of black folks the world around, nobody wants to believe that. If you go study real history, you study how the French blew the face off the Sphinx, as Count Volney said, to think we hold this race of people in utter contempt. Utter contempt, this race of people in utter contempt. To know that they bought us the maths, the sciences, the reading. He was there when they blew the face off. But Reconstruction, when they photograph the face and people, they do the Reconstruction building, they build an African face. Unfortunately, if white folks knew that, they wouldn't go to Egypt. So that's why they keep that under the table. That's why that Hawassi guy that runs antiquities in Egypt, the Arab, keeps that shit under the table. He's making money. The country's making money. But here you have more proof. You can type in, I think this will bring it up. I've never done it. Antiquities. You'll see statues. Yeah. You'll see statues. You'll see in family flags, Moorish symbols. The Moors, rulers of Europe, and their legacy. Now here they're dressed like Europeans. And the little outfits, the stockings. If you just do a little bit of research, now this is, the antiquities, let me say, are priceless, as one YouTuber pointed out. He's got entire videos of the antiquities, the artwork, the statues, with pearls on them and stuff like that, and they're priceless. The paintings are called the Orientalist period. Some people try to deflect, say, that's just the Orientalist period, as if they're not real. They are real antiquities. They are real paintings, okay? The Moors were black as history and proof. Look, this ruled Spain 7 years, yes. So you can't get away from this. Have a good day, or try to have a good day now. Okay, I want to take a look at this tiny little photograph here. Before I show you this photograph, let me show you something else. This, I believe, is a painting of Jibral. He's the Moorish general who conquered Spain and Portugal. Apparently he rode a white horse, and what was written about him at the time was he was black as ink. Black as ink. Okay, so let's go back to this. Actually, I think it's this one here. Maybe this one. They're all tiny. This is a recreation. Let's go back. I'm going to see if I can find that original that I was looking at. Forget it. I'm going to download this so I can blow it up. Let's see. I want to blow this up. Okay, I couldn't find the feature to blow it up, but I typed in Moors playing chess. Still tiny. Still too tiny. Small. Ah, you see the writing below. This is the original. Excellent. I believe you can see all the parties involved. Now, this was recreated and it repainted, and put out as white people here, and the servant who is white, see she's carrying the food and the drink, they put them as a black person. Why? If you got to ask yourself why, then please go ahead and turn this video off. It's way over your head. You should know why. So this is the original document, a photograph of the original document with the language below it. Now, when they recreated it, they wanted to make it look like black people were the servants and European-looking people were the people who actually played chess. This is the original, the actual original. Why was it done? To maintain something called white supremacy. Don't want to bring it up. Sorry I brought it up. Sorry if it hurts your fragility and you feel suddenly funny. This is what was done to maintain that concept I just mentioned. We'll leave it nameless. Okay? You'll notice all through history, what's called the iconoclast period, the religious paintings were whitewashed. Literally. As one of my clients, who's an artist, told me, she went to Europe and looked at the paintings, she said to me, these paintings have been through a lot of hands. Yes, they have. So these are the people who conquered Spain and Portugal. Okay? And they bought in the concept of bathing because, excuse me, the church had outlawed bathing because the Muslims had bathhouses. Bathhouses were also existed in Greece and Rome, but Europe didn't. That part of Europe had outlawed bathing. They also outlawed math because they were using Muslim numbers. So the people were basically uneducated. So the Moors bought in the first university. They bought in the idea of bathing again back to Europe. Remember, it was the Black Plague because of the filth and the mosquitoes and rats and basically just plain old nastiness that spread the Black Plague. So hopefully you can accept the real truth and realize you've been had, you've been hoodwinked, you've had the wool pulled over your eyes, so that it maintains that false superiority thing that's going on. That's why you feel as you do. You might feel uncomfortable right now if you're non-black. You might feel a little feeling inside. Doesn't feel good. It makes you want to click off this video. Sometimes the truth hurts, but we got to accept nothing but the truth. This is real history right here.